The opinions expressed are those of the program host and guest and are not those of WSTU. WSTU does not endorse products that may be mentioned. Any reproduction or retransmission of this broadcast is strictly prohibited without written consent of WSTU. The phone lines are open. Call in with your questions and comments at 220-9788. That's 220-WSTU. It's time for Stuart Laser Talk with your host, Dr. Tred J. Razacker.
I'm 5'10" and 242 pounds.
I always say this is the biggest I'm ever going to be, and I said that like 20 pounds ago.
A third of Americans are obese, another third is overweight.
Obesity is the biggest threat to the health, welfare, and future of this country.
I've always been overweight.
I've got diabetes.
Sleep apnea, heart disease.
Everything's hurting now.
It's a lot easier to lose weight than it is to keep weight off.
This is probably going to be the first generation of children who are going to have a shorter life expectancy than their parents.
18% of our children right now are obese.
It's not only health, it's about survival and well-being of the United States as a nation.
You don't crave broccoli, and our generation has grown up craving a Big Mac.
I want to think that there's something better for me.
Unless we're able to control this epidemic, we're going to have an abundance of chronic disease.
All of us have to be part of the solution to reduce obesity.
The weight of the nation is out of control, but we can fix that.
If we don't now take this as a really urgent national priority, we are all going to pay a really serious price.
Obesity will crush the United States in oblivion.
How many of you listening to my radio show today got up out of bed excited and said, "Today I am going to plan and create my day"? How many did that? Probably none of you. This is because most people believe that their day and how their day evolves has very little to do with their thoughts. And if you really believed you could change your day by your thoughts, then you would not and could not wait to get up and create the day you want. To be able to create the health you should have, the relationships in your life, your financial worth, how much peace you feel being excited about growing older and not becoming sick someday, has a lot to do with what you think about, what you are interested in, who you talk to, and where you get your advice. So with that lead in, this is a radio show of good, healthy advice, natural health care given by God, expressed through your incredible, amazing human body. You know, my body is my sanctity. It's my safe space. My body is my temple. My body is where my soul and my spirit reside. And nobody comes into my temple that's not invited and is not for a positive, right reason. And within my body, this temple, I'm given all of the necessary ingredients to be healthy, to protect myself from disease, to heal any malady that could come across to me, within reason, self-healing, self-regulating. It processes foods. It gives me energy. It gets rid of waste products and allows me to do work all day long, every day. It has an immune system which is stronger than any medicine, vaccination, pharmacological agent than you could ever imagine. Your body, through thousands and thousands and thousands of years of trial and error of your ancestors dealing with germs and pathologies and diseases and sun exposure and lack of water and eating bad foods through the gazillions of years that we've managed to live on this planet. You are the crowned creation. Me, my body has all of that knowledge, all of those techniques, all of those systems are inherent within me. And it's not a privilege. It's not even a right. It just is. It's given to us with very little effort on our part, which is amazing. And I like to think back. I picture in my mind that I have a mom and a dad, right? There's no doubt about that. I know them. I met them. I also met their parents, my grandparents. I did not meet my great grandparents, nor their great great grandparents, my great 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 grandparents, 3 generations back. And if I think back, how far back do you think my lineage comes? My mom and dad had a mom and dad. My grandparents had a mom and dad. This goes back really, really far back in time. I don't know, thousands of years back. As far as I know, we require, creation to procreate, to create more babies, and then they hook up with other babies and other people, and they have babies, and then that lineage and all the experience and all the genetics gets passed from generation to generation over probably 1 million years or more. And even though we've only been on the planet, according to fossil records, for about 250,000 years, the first humanids or things that appeared to look like humans. And, you have an immune system, and you have a digestive tract, which can absorb nutrients from the food you eat. And humans are omnivores. We can eat about anything. There's herbivores and there's carnivores, right? Animals that live on plants and animals that live on just meat. Humans are omnivores. We can live on either plants or meat or fungus or bacteria, which is what yogurt is, right? And mushrooms or fungus. And we can derive nutrition from it and power our body and rebuild our tissues. Where do you think that ability to do that came from? Or why is it within us? Do you know that your immune system is so incredibly wonderful in how it functions that not only does it have outer defenses to prevent most germs from getting in, called your innate immune system, and that would be fever, your skin, your body's ability to throw up, to puke out poisons, the white blood cell attack when we get infection. It's a general attack. All the white blood cells come in. This immune system then adapts, called the adaptive immune system, which is now, after the initial barrier is broken, after the skin is broken, and maybe the bacteria have overwhelmed, or you have something that's more virulent, like a virus, this then brings in the adaptive immune system, which is your T cells and your B cells. These are produced by the glands in your body when you have overwhelmed by infection. And then within 2 weeks, they build antibodies to defend from the antigens. Antigens are what are making you sick, like the spike protein. And then you build antibodies, which either bind with those antigens, or they make them, or they put chemical messengers on them, which then cause other cells to be attracted to them to destroy them. All this is going on inside your body when you get up and go to work and come home and you don't feel well, and maybe you got a little fever. All of this is happening inside your body, and it is an incredibly effective, super effective system. Do you know that fish have an immune system also? But it's not an adaptive immune system. It's simply an outer immune system. A fish's immune system is its slime coating that surrounds it. Okay? So when you pick up a fish and you rub off the slime coating, you have just opened up an area for bacteria to go into the fish and make it sick, because the slime coating is its immune system. It does not have an adaptive immune system. It cannot produce B cells and T cells and memory cells, and it cannot share its immunity with other fish like we do. You know, when you get sick and you get exposed to the measles and you heal from the measles, you don't ever get it back again. You are immune to the measles for the rest of your life. That's called herd immunity, natural immunity. And that's what all germs and viruses, they give you natural immunity. And you then can share that immunity with other people in a way. You know, remember they used to have the measles parties, the chicken pox party, when you know, in order to get it out of the way, having measles when you're a young kid or a chicken pox when you're young is a lot better than when you're older. So people used to, in the 50s and 60s, they would invite kids over so they all would get it, so they would get it out of the way. So I'm here to share a message of truth and about that your body is a lot stronger than anyone has allowed you to believe. Your body's ability to heal itself is more effective than anyone has ever allowed you to believe. You know, they want to keep the secret to health locked up, not give it to you, not share it with you, what it means to be healthy, in order to develop a business model of making sure that you'll always reach to the medicine cabinet when you're sick, or think that you have to have health insurance to be able to see a special trained person who went to a medical college, you know, in order to get better. These ideas and these thoughts are programmed and are taught us since we're little kids, and taught to us through the media and through marketing and promotion, and also just to want to belong to a group. There's something very interesting in humans. It's called the herd urge, the desire to belong to a group, like a herd of cow or a herd of any animals. And we want to be accepted by the group. And if the group is doing something, even though it's wrong, and even though there's 500 million people doing it, no matter what, it's still wrong. It's still a bad idea. Even if 500 million people are doing it, it's still a bad idea. And when you go against the group and have not a new idea, but something which is based in faith and belief and goodness and right action and just common sense, if it's against the group and how they survive, they're going to attack you. They're going to, you know, lampoon you, you know, say you don't know what you're talking about, shame you, you know, go on and on about how you should live and that you need to, you know, get in step with it. You know, come on, take one for the team. And I'm a humanist. I'm not. I don't want to be a transhumanist. I know that it's possible that time will bring me back to the earth. If it's my time to die, I'm okay with that. And I'll be lovingly brought back to the earth from which I came. But what scares me and what I don't want is to live some kind of living nightmare of being a transhumanist who has been, you know, who's living on pharmacological agents to survive, who has to use a machine to breathe. And to what end? There's no life or freedom in that to me. And, you know, that's not my choice. So medicine and drug therapies and vaccinations, if you want to call the jab a vaccination, is something that is a good analogy would be like eating fish, right? When you eat fish, you don't eat the whole thing, do you? You pick around the bones, you know, there's sharp bones in a fish. And if you eat the bone, it's going to get you in the throat and you might bleed out in your esophagus. So we eat fish carefully. We pick around the bones. Medicine is the same way. The analogy is, you know, medicine has created an enormous amount of good things in our lives, obviously. But you got to pick around it very carefully. You got to use your common sense as to what you're going to choose and what's really necessary. And because if you pick the wrong thing, then you get the fishbone in the throat because you didn't take your due diligence to really look at these things. And sometimes medicine is absolutely critically important because you screwed up, right? You made a mistake. You didn't follow your wife's suggestions. You maybe drank too much, or you didn't take care of your health, and you allowed your body fat to get too high. And, you stopped exercising because of a job you just took. And all of a sudden you have symptoms. You are not well. And your pressure's elevated, your blood sugar's high, you're overweight, and you go to the doctor and they recommend a symptomatic treatment. Doctors treat symptoms. They rarely treat the whole person. Okay. They treat your symptoms. They rarely treat all parts of your body. And in some of the religions, the monistic religions, it's called Om Sat Tat. That's the Hindu religion. Om Sat Tat. It means body, mind, and soul. You're carrying around a body which is subject to poisons and fractures and injuries, right? People can sneeze on you, and then you're subjected to bacterias which fall on your body. You could be exposed, but, and then to treat the body is very important. But why, but you also have a soul and a mind, which is part of this triune. And the mind is where we get the bad thoughts. And like I opened up the show this morning about, when you get out of bed today, are you excited and plan to create your day? Well, I am, because I know that my thoughts create my day. All right. You're listening to Slim Body Laser Spa Health and Wellness Show. My name is Dr. Tread Rissacker. I've been in practice for 33 years. I've been using a FDA-cleared low-level lipo laser, a fat blasting, oh my God, you can't believe how good it works machine. There is no downtime. There's no injuries. There's no damaged tissue. There's no healing time. There's no harsh dieting, and there's no strenuous exercise whatsoever for this process to work. We guarantee a 3-inch money back guarantee. If you don't lose 3 inches in 9 sessions, we picked the wrong person. We failed you in some way. And we sit down and talk about what are we going to do about it. Sometimes it's recommending weight loss programs and paying for it. Other times it's just a flat out refund. It's just part is as friendly as possible, right? Most people giving their money back solves just about everything. Since we don't hurt anybody. And we also, the process of using a laser to treat the outer fat is great. But when you combine it with weight loss, nutritional evaluation, looking at the meds you're on, trying to help you in those areas with sane suggestions. I'm a doctor. I'm a chiropractor. I'm not a medical doctor. I cannot tell you to not take a medication that your doctor prescribed, but I could teach you about it, show you what you can do to get off of it over time, and maybe support you in that role of doing that. And, it's very different than, the medical profession who just gives you the medication and gives you maybe a piece of paper of what to do to get off the meds. They don't even do that. Meds are like when you've screwed up, like I said before, and you're trying to get across the raging river and you need help, and somebody offers you a raft to get across the river. That's a good thing. And you get on the raft and you get to the other side, and, you're supposed to get out of the raft, right? You can't stay in the raft. You'll die. So you get out of the raft, and then you try to figure out why you need to make those changes. So I've been put on medications before, and I made sure that I had a reasonable time frame when I was going to not be taking these things, because I screwed up. I made a mistake. I overate. I did something to create the problem. My problem didn't occur from a lack of medication. My headaches didn't come because I don't take aspirin. Problem came because I made a choice, whether it was a thought or a physical action, to allow me to get ill, to become sick. And I need to reverse that action to get off the med, which is necessarily given. And that's really difficult for many of you out there because it's hard to change. So at the Slim Body Laser Spa, we have an office. I have an office on East Ocean Boulevard. It's right across the street, excuse me, from the Fresh Market. And the address is 2311 Southeast Ocean Boulevard, Stuart, Florida. Phone number is 772-223-5885. And our plans are 9 sessions, 9 30-minute laser sessions with 10 to 20 minutes standing on a whole body vibration machine. And that helps to remove the fatty acids that the laser released. And after doing that 3 times a week for 3 weeks, we also go over your nutrition, make sure that you're making the right choices, that you're educated on food, protein, carbs, how many calories you need. We use a machine called a bioimpedance analysis. You sit down with me, and then after 3 weeks, and you can lose 6 to 9 inches of fat, 4 inches of girth around your midsection. I had a 40-inch waist, and I went down to a 36-inch waist in 4 weeks, laying on my back. And then I ate less for 4 months and dropped 38 pounds. The laser doesn't cause you to lose weight, people. It gets rid of the outer fat, and you'll lose a little bit of weight, but not compared to how good you look. The real difficulty for many of you out there is sticking with a food plan that works for you, something which is not bought over the counter, or shipped to you every month. You get this order of food that comes in boxes. That's not sustainable. It might work for a little while, but long term, very few people really stick with that. They're all going to go to the Bonefish Grill eventually. They're all going to go out on the boat cruise if they let us cruise again and overeat for about 10 days. And, and then all that money spent on that auto ship food is useless because you haven't really learned the difference between a protein and a carb and a fat. So very interesting here. All right. So if you're interested in meeting with me, my consultations are always free. It isn't that they're not valuable. I get $300 for a half hour to consult, but my process and what we're doing is very unique. It's very special to what we do. I created this process after getting a lipo laser back in 2010. I bought a machine that said that you could tighten skin and lose outer fat in only 9 sessions in 3 weeks while you lie on your back and listen to music. That's what I was sold. And I was at a seminar in West Palm Beach. I took that machine home and I started to use it on people, to have people I tried to target people with a low body, reasonable body fat that just want skin tightening, want some tummy, reduction, maybe some changing the arms, the flab in the arms around the chin. And it was incredibly effective, but on some people, it didn't work. On quite a few people, it didn't work. And it didn't matter how many times I applied the machine, because I had some people, our process is 9 sessions in 3 weeks. I had some people that we did it 25, 30 sessions and could not change their girth. And, at first I thought it was the machine. It was maybe they have hard fat, brown fat. Maybe, it's there's other issues going on with their fat. And then what I found out is that it also has to do with metabolism, that the machine is a laser and it is safe, and it always, always, always will reduce subcutaneous fat. It liquefies it, it puts it into circulation through whole body vibration, and then you burn it as energy over the next 2 to 3 hours. The problem with a lot of you out there is your metabolism has been so destroyed with bad food and no exercise that your hormonal profile, the hormones which control weight gain and weight burn and your overall muscle tone, those hormonal levels start to drop down when you don't exercise or you don't eat right. And if you keep that not eating right for several years without breaking the habit, your hormonal profile goes in the gutter. And it's really hard to make that change in a week or two. And when people come in looking for help with lots of belly fat, over 50, 60 years old, carrying the weight around for several years, I know there's a hormonal profile that's happening also, even though, the cure is consistent eating better and moving, exercise. That's not the cure. That's the standard. You have to do that. But what happens is, because it's hormonal, your testosterone is low, or if you're a female, you're not having any more progesterone, you're in menopause. This fat accumulation does not respond to diet and exercise the way it did when you were in your 20s, 30s, and 40s, and even 50s. That's because there's a hormonal component to it. It isn't the fact that you've been overeating, although that is one reason why it happens. You can't separate the two. So what I found at the Slim Body Laser Spa, after working with, in the beginning, hundreds and hundreds of people, there's people there that absolutely have to do perfect diet when they start out. We have to look at their calories. They need help eating properly. They need help with frequency, how often they eat. They need help with portion control, how much they eat per day, and then also how much they eat at each interval, at each frequency, spreading out your calories. And then they didn't understand quality of food, what that means. And when we started teaching and helping and getting people to be able to do it themselves, what their burn rate is, how many calories they can safely eat if they want to lose weight, the frequency best for them, how often per day they should eat, and how much each sitting, and the quality, their results on the lipo laser were better. I mean, dramatically better. And we went from being able to treat a small percentage of the population, the same kind of people that might go for the fat freezing or the fat burning or this EM sculpt. These are people that are pretty fit that get results. But if you're somebody who is part of the 80%, I like to say the deplorables, who have sat around and maybe watched a little too much TV and drank a little too many beers when they were younger and had too many kids and weren't able to exercise. You need more help than one of these outside machines. Without incorporating weight loss or eating better and exercise, moving, you're going to be throwing your money away when you go to these other centers, because they don't deal with your weight. They do not help you with food and intake and teaching you that. Now, and they will treat the outer fat, which is, the stuff you squeeze between your fingers. And if you're under 25% body fat, you're going to have a pretty good result at any of these places. But if you're over 25% to 30, which is 80% of all of you that I'm speaking to, 8 out of 10, they're not going to be able to help you, because you have a problem with inner fat along with the outer fat. It's called visceral fat and it's called subcutaneous fat. You need to handle them both. And to say that a lot of people will work on losing weight before they come in, that's a foolish thing to do, because then they come in with loose skin and a lot of loose baggage. If they started the day of their weight loss program and you started with the laser and then also started with our nutritional plan, what happens is the weight loss is more consistent. It's more predictable. And we can put the laser on areas that you're starting to get maybe some loose, puffy skin from the weight loss. Can shrink it, along with managing calories and then extending your plan beyond the 3 to 4 weeks to the second month, the third month, and the fourth month. You give me 4 months and you're 300 pounds, we could help you. Incredible. Not going to make any promises here, but I mean, in 4 months, you will look like you had a gastric bypass surgery without the surgery and without all the problems that follow gastric bypass surgeries. We've helped morbidly obese people, 350 pounds, 320, 280. We just had a guy sign up and 180 pounds, 54 years old. He lost 30 pounds after COVID recently. And his belly fat has been distributed around his midsection. And in shorts, he works in the landscaping industry. He's a supervisor and gets a lot of exercise, is outside all the time. His legs, his arms, and his face look perfect. You'd never know he was carrying that midsection. When he pulled up his shirt, it looked like several spare inner tubes that had been deflated that were hanging around the midsection. Hit it perfectly with a shirt. And to be frank with you, I looked at him and I said, your midsection does not fit here. In other words, every other part of your body is showing that your tone and except for I was really fairly surprised. And for me to be surprised, he was surprised. And he began the program, and he's already into the first week and a half, and he's already lost like 4 inches in 3 different measurements. And his weight, he's getting his weight taken care of. And it's a great thing for him. It's gonna help him feel better, live longer, hopefully, from doing that. We had another client who signed up, and she was 64 years old. She's weighing in at about 190, and she's only 5'4". So 5'4" is 5 feet is about as short as humans get, unless you're from another world. And so 6 feet is about as tall as most of us get. So she was 5'4", 5'5". So, and then to weigh 180 pounds, her weight should be around 130, 20 at her age. So 40, 50, 60, she's 50 pounds overweight. And she'd been carrying that weight around for years, many years, over 10 years, since she was in her early 50s. And it has affected her blood pressure. She's on medication for blood pressure. It's affected, she has high cholesterol, so she's on a statin. She's on simvastatin, which is a combination blood pressure and cholesterol med. She's also on something for lipid metabolism problems. She's borderline diabetic. She has hyperglycemia, but she's not full blown yet. And to say she's unhappy, she can't exercise. She gets too hot because of the sun. And, really absolutely on 2 different antidepressant medications, Lexapro and another serotonin uptake drug, SSRI, just to help her feel better. But they don't work because remember, I told you, medicine is a raft to get across the river. You can't keep living in it. You can't stay in it. If not, you got to make that change. And she came in because a friend of hers lost a bunch of inches, lost a bunch of weight. And when she asked her, how did you do it? She told him Slim Body Laser Spa. And she's like, I'm going, and she came in and signed up. She's just finished her 9th session. So she had the initial product, the initial 3 weeks, and she's at her 9th session. And she showed up yesterday with full makeup on, new eyelashes, a different shirt that fit tight, track shoes, exercise shoes. And her family came in a week before, and 2 of her family members signed up because they said they have never seen such a change in their mother in their life. In other words, she didn't lose all the weight yet, but something is different. There's a new person in there. It was like you peeled off the onion layers, and within that was this incredibly vivacious, sexual, fun-loving, healthy person who had just been burdened down with the cocoon of fat all around her, and literally was looking at like the end of her life, in her 60s. That it's, if it's going to go on like this, why go on? And it isn't, losing weight definitely can create that kind of feeling in people. There's no doubt about it. If you've ever been fat and you've lost weight, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It feels great. I mean, I when I dropped my 40 pounds in 2012, and I went from a 40 waist to 36 and a 265 pounds to 225. I used to have a red Raptor. It was a red Ford pickup truck, and I had on the side of it, I had it wrapped with the Slim Body logo, and it was a pretty highly visible truck. I would have people come up to me at the traffic lights and beep their horn, and I'd roll down the window and they'd say, "Good job, Doc." Great. You look great, Doc. I can't believe it. I saw more people in that truck, and you know what? I felt so great, and I still do. I've maintained that weight loss, by the way. It's been 8 years since then, and I still feel better. And I've had a lot of success as a chiropractor and a doctor, and took over my dad's practice, bought a beautiful home, and I bought the Porsche I always wanted when I was 34 years old. Nice turbo. Nothing made me feel as good as losing that weight. I could always find somebody with a faster car, a better boat, a bigger house, a more beautiful wife. But when you feel good inside, when you know that you're healthier, you're feeling better, and you've been dragged around with that big gut, I'm telling you, it's life-changing. Nothing has made me feel better. It gave me hope for the next 40 years of my life. I'm 60 years old. I'm not done. I'm finally old enough to know what I want to do. I got the money to do some of what I want to do for the most part. And I'm not going to be sick. I'm not going to be not able to do that. And one thing you can change, one thing that is possible for anybody that's listening to this program, is you can change your body fat. And body fat is the number one demographic which will lead you to an early death, heart disease, cancer, stroke, diabetes, and God forbid, COVID. Obesity, number one risk. So this is a study I have from the Centers of Disease, CDC. This was in July 1st. This is this year. And I'm going to hold it up in front of the camera here so you can see it. If you're Facebook, it's underlying medical conditions and severe illness among 550,000 adults that were hospitalized with COVID-19. Now, not everybody had COVID when they went into the hospital. Some got it. They found out they had COVID after they were there. But these are people that had medical conditions that most of them died from their problem. And of the percentage, the number one cause of what they call a comorbidity, something which you show up with, which is a bummer for getting better, in other words, it's going to make you sicker, is obesity. People, I promise you, 10 years ago, this was not the number one problem. I've been a doctor I've been doing weight loss for 11 years. Obesity was like number 10 on the list of highest risk factors. Somewhere, somehow, in the last 10 years, obesity has crept up to be the number 1 and 2 reason if you get sick, and get COVID, you have a 40% chance of dying from COVID because you're overweight. And overweight is really, really common. Everybody seems to be overweight. They're making airplane seats bigger to accommodate us. They've designing cars so you can swing yourself out. You don't have to climb up. They're putting lumbar supports in. They're actually have to factor in an extra 20 pounds per person with fuel whenever you fly in an airplane. They used to be where the average weight of somebody was like 160 or something. Now it's like 180 because everybody is carrying around body fat. Your chances of dying of heart disease are 1 in 2. So 50% of you are going to get, 1 out of 2. And your chances of dying from cancer are 1 out of 3 today. In 1960, when I was born, your chances of dying from heart disease were 1 in 10. And your chances of dying from cancer were 1 in 30. Now it's every other person with heart disease, 1 out of 3 with cancer. Obesity and eating bad foods, processed food, and not exercising, when you combine those 3 together, it is a recipe for early death. And that doesn't mean that everybody that's obese has this predilection, because there's people out there that eat good, they exercise often, and they're carrying around some extra body fat. That's okay. I mean, that's part of life. Or there's other people that are exercising like crazy, not eating good, and carrying weight around, and the exercise offsets a lot of that illness. But when you combine bad diet, processed foods, no exercise, and obesity together, you have a recipe which is you need to do something about it. I'm not going to keep screaming at you. You want to do something, you want to be effective, and you want to be safe, and you want it to be sure. That's why you hire somebody like the Slim Body Laser Spa. I was sued from this frivolous lawsuit when I left New York because of an association in my office. I had nothing to do with it. But it would have been very punishing. It was like $1 million lawsuit. And I hired an attorney in New York at the time, Quadrino and Schwartz, and it cost me like $10,000 to defend myself. And I kept calling him. What's happening? I'm concerned. I haven't heard from him. He says, Doc, leave it alone. He says, you need to go to work, make some money. He says, and forget about this. We will handle this. This is why you hired us, to handle this. Leave it alone. And you know what? He was absolutely right. It took about 1.5 years. There was no fault. I settled for $1 because I wasn't part of it. And they handled it. If it was left up to me, if I tried to handle that, I would have been sick, 2 years of worry and fear, and probably, said the wrong things and didn't understand the process. And I would have had bad results. That's what most of you are doing with your own weight loss programs. A lot of you. It's easy to lose weight. It's really hard to keep weight off. Just like the trailer says when you first listen to my show. If losing weight were easy, everybody can lose weight. Just stop eating. What's hard is keeping the weight off year in and year out. And there's a lot of factors why that happens. One is your hormonal profile has changed. The way you lost weight was unhealthy to start with. You restricted too many calories. You were eating foods that you're not normally comfortable with. You did it without any exercise, or maybe you lost the weight and didn't think you have to exercise, or maybe you tried to lose weight and all you did was exercise and you couldn't lose weight. Here's a fact. Write this down. This is from Dr. Tread. If you want to lose weight, exercise is the worst way to do it. It takes the longest. It's going to be the most frustrating. And unless you eat less calories, exercise will not work for losing weight. Why? Because the body is so efficient at utilizing a calorie. If you eat a bagel in the morning and you put cream cheese on it, you've hit about 350 carbohydrate calories. And if you want to burn that bagel off that day, this is fact, you will have to run vigorously for 2 hours to burn 350 calories. Don't believe what your Fitbit says on your arm or that little pedometer that's telling you how many calories you're burning. They're tragically off on those numbers. I mean, it's almost a joke how rarely they're right with those numbers. Because your body is super efficient at burning energy, at storing energy and not giving it up. However, if you know what your burn rate is, how many calories you burn at rest, your resting caloric intake, and I'll explain that really quick. If you were to lay on the couch and go to sleep and not eat any food or get up for 24 hours, and your body, the number of calories you burn at rest, that's your fixed caloric amount that you can eat. When I did my number, it was 2,400 calories. I do these all day long. Some people are 1,500, some are 1,400, some are 1,800. I've never seen anybody over 2,500 calories. Yet half of you out there daily eat between 3,000 and 5,000 calories. So if your burn rate is 2,500 calories, and that's an athlete, a fit male, and you're eating 4,500 calories every day, you're making 2,000 calories of fat at the end of the day. That's almost half a pound of fat. A pound of fat is 3,500 calories. That is how we make fat, people. It isn't, we make it by little bits. And here's a really interesting phenomena. Your body will never squander a fat cell. If you were lucky enough to have extra calories left over after eating and after going through a time of, like the winter, those calories are saved in case you need them another day. They never go away. They don't magically disappear. Some of the fatty acids that you're holding on to, you might have accumulated those when you were in high school and you still got them. Okay? They're not shifted out. They don't move out. You don't have like new fatty acids come in and push the old ones out. No, it doesn't work that way. They're kept for your benefit. And there's a reason for that. Food can be scarce. And, God created us to continue our life through famine and through feast and famine. And that extra fat is how you're going to do it. Yet today, because we have so much food available, it's so accessible that we are dealing with an absolute pandemic. It's not an epidemic, because an epidemic is just in one small area. This is a worldwide critical problem. And, is we're just having too much food, and we're putting on this weight, and this fat creates all the health problems that we deal with every single day. So don't be a mark. Don't be a victim. If you're holding extra body fat called adipose tissue, you got to get rid of it. And, whenever somebody comes in the spa, I like to explain to them that your fat is not just for calories. I asked a bunch of nurses, I said, do you know what's the purpose of fat? And they're like, to store energy, to store calories. I says, did you know the purpose of your fat is also to give you cells that make more fat cells, fibroblasts, and vascular endothelial cells? In other words, fat cells turn into other cells. They're called stromal tissue, and they're like stem cells. And what else happens is your immune cells, such as tissue macrophages, which are white blood cells, these are produced by your adipose tissue. So it's part of your inflammation response. It's part of your immune system. At the same time, it stores energy, of course, in the form of lipids, although it also cushions and insulates your body. It makes you look nice. It makes you look soft. Far from being hormonally inert. In other words, it's full of hormones. Adipose tissue has in recent years been recognized as a major endocrine organ. So you're concerned about your thyroid, right? You should be. You're concerned about your sex hormones. You should be. Your fat cells are part of your hormonal system, just as important as those. But what happens is when you carry too much around and you've gone beyond the 20 percentile, now those hormones become inflammatory and they create inflammation and they create swelling and they create all kinds of health issues, which lead you to be vulnerable to getting sick, vulnerable to cancer, stroke, diabetes, COVID, and the whole gamut. So if you're interested in doing something about it and you want a guarantee, 3-inch guarantee, and give us a call, 772-223-5885. My name is Dr. Tred. That's Tred. You can find me at the slimbodylaserspa.com. I've been there for 11 years. We have free consultations. You owe it nothing to come in and find out and meet with me, and I will show you what's going on. We can even do a BIA analysis if you'd like to find out your body fat, if you're that concerned. But you got to give us a call. The summer is the time to do it. As soon as we get into September, October, we're going to be slammed again. And right now we have a little bit of spare time, and we're located on East Ocean Boulevard, right across from the Fresh Market. You can walk in, you can give us a call. We can normally see a person within an hour or two, or the next day for sure. And it's just a wonderful process. I was once a fat, hopeless doctor, and I used to struggle with losing weight, and I finally found a solution for my own weight loss, and I reversed my type 2 diabetes. I did it. You can do it too. Slim Body Laser Spa, Stuart, Florida. And we'll see you soon. And by the way, get out and enjoy the weather. It's beautiful. And we'd love to see you here in the office. God bless. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.